And so the first one, of course, is just bringing up the main stats update. So we had another huge month for Victoria real estate. We had 990 sales happen this last month. That compares to 619 that happened October of 2019. So man, we had an over 60% year over year increase last month, and we almost hit that this month at 59.9. So at least it's consistent. And of course, we always want to try to break down that unit mix, because we're going to talk a lot today about condos versus detached properties. Nice thing is sales of condominiums are up. We're up 70% this month, and sales of single family homes were up 53%. So actually last month, it was a little bit of an inverse. We had more single family homes. I think it was like a 90% increase in detached homes last month, where this month we have seen a little bit of momentum coming back to the condominium market. Just as, again, people are looking to either get out of being renters and getting into the condo market, or, a lot of downsizers right now too, as we get closer to winter, too big of a property, things like that. And some new supply is starting to come to market from some of the local developers as well with certain projects. So, it's been positive to see, a strong increase in sales on both sides. And we're going to dive into some other stuff. The biggest thing right now that we're really tracking, and when we start talking about multiple offers and competition in a bit, is this number right here. We only have 2,122 active listings available as of Monday. So we're not quite in the historical lows that we saw in 2016-17, where that number was down to 1,300. But this is still historically low, right? And even when we look compared to last year, we were at, I think it was about 2,600. So about 500 less listings in this time. The thing for people to note is that 2,100, that includes some commercial listings, because some realtors do post their commercial listings on here. So that's about 300 or 400 listings of commercial properties. So you're really talking about 1,700 or so active listings available for all of the greater Victoria region, which runs Souk to Shawnigan Lake, Mill Bay, out to Sydney, condo pre-sales, new developments, manufactured homes, everything. So a very limited supply right now, and we'll get into some of the stats in a minute. But yeah, we've seen a strong amount of multiple offers, especially in the detached and townhome markets. So an area where we are still seeing continued pressure, really because people are looking for more space, right? Again, we're still in the middle of a pandemic right now. Some restrictions and stuff are starting to come back, and people are saying, well, I need a home office. I need more space for the kids. Seen a lot of multi-generational families looking to buy housing together as well. Maybe bringing mom and grandpa back from the prairies, getting them into, a duplex lifestyle situation, or a really nice suite with, the kids can live upstairs. So, those detached properties that have flexible options for living arrangements have become really popular. And I think we'll continue to see that as our house prices continue to rise. I think you're seeing more families, more friend kind of joint ventures to get into the market and create some cool investments.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge wave moving forward, especially because, Saanich has finally approved the garden suite situation.
Totally. No, exactly. It only took them 4 years, but they finally got there, right? So,
well, at least it wasn't a bridge, right?
Yeah. Of course, looking at, again, just kind of where those sales and where that broke up, again, where did those single family home sales happen? Most of them, again, in the greater Victoria area. Again, over 300 condos sold sold last month, 125 townhomes, along with some manufactured. So we had 935 residential sales with 990 total sales happening last month. Our average price has remained over $1 million for like third or fourth month in a row. And really that's just an indicator that because averages are skewed by the numbers that create them every month, it still shows the strength of our multi-million-dollar segment. That one's been on a pretty strong run for the last 4 to 5 months. And again, it's because everyone is out there looking for lifestyle changes because of COVID and just the economy and work from home. So yeah, that 1.5 to $2 million and up market has continued to remain strong. We had another $5.5 million sale, a bunch of $3 million sales last month as well. So been interesting to watch that trend. We'll get into HPI prices in a little bit with the map that we all love. You and I were talking about this one before, though, this sales to active listing ratio, right? So this really shows the pace of the market.
Yeah. And can you just touch on why this is important to look at on a monthly basis and what it really means?
Yeah, so the sales to active listing ratio really shows you, what's the pace of the market? Is it a buyer? People always ask, is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? And again, it really comes down to supply and demand. And this is kind of a version of that. This says, okay, for all the active listings that are available, how many sales are happening? And that is a percentage of the overall inventory. So the higher that number is, that means that more houses are selling based upon the new listings that are coming on or the active listings that are available. And so if you're above 25%, that means that you're in an upward pressure on prices, and we're generally in a seller's market condition. So you can see here over the last 4 months, as inventory has continued to creep down, and sales have continued to remain strong and even increasing, that's where we're getting this almost, 50, well, really almost 60% sales to active listing ratio. It means for every 10 homes that come on the market, 6 of them are selling, right? So it's fast paced. This is considering the whole entire market. But you can see down here with this little bit of a legend, right? So if you've only got less than 1 house selling per 10, then you're definitely in what's called buyer's market conditions, because there's a lot of inventory building up and buyers have choice. Right now, less choice means buyers are having to compete for the limited availability that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, this number was up in this range and even higher when we talk about the very fast-paced markets, 2016, 17. But as you can see during all the new taxation and mortgage stress tests and everything that came in over 2018, 19, you can see that we were in still slightly seller's market conditions, but really close to that. We've really been in a balanced market for quite a while. You can see the COVID drop here in the spring, and then that recovery that we've been going through the last 6 months is pretty evident as we look through this ratio right here.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, no, it's been, and then again, we're looking at benchmark prices. This looks at the overall just general areas. So when we look at where have prices come year over year, for the entire region, this is for single family homes, the entire region's up about 5%. The core with its higher price points is up only 2%. West Shore, Peninsula, and you guys are in the Gulf Islands too, so this is good for anyone looking at your project in Salt Spring. The actually slightly more affordable areas, based upon local values, this is what's performing the most, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we look at the strength of our economy right now. Who's buying? Well, it's government workers, it's nurses, it's teachers, contractors, strong middle-class jobs. And, we have a lot of communities in the core of Victoria that are even too expensive for a lot of those, strong middle-class industries. So people are going to the suburbs, right? West Shore, Peninsula. If you can work from home, why not go live on Salt Spring,
Totally.
and maybe come over once a week or once every 2 weeks to, meet with your team, but you can live a quieter lifestyle, have your own kind of space. And same with the Malahat, right? Again, if you don't have to come up and down the Malahat every day, then, this starts being a lot more attractive. And, you and I have talked about Shawnigan, Mill Bay, Duncan quite a bit. And even though I don't sell in Duncan, that's what I mean. People have asked me about it, and I said, there's great opportunity up there. And, some great realtors up there. I know some great ones that I could refer people to. But the affordability is, when we talk about where I think some strong growth will be over the next 5 years, it's going to be in those more affordable communities that have become accessible because of work from home.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it was really interesting going through that valley that you showed from March through May or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, there, because we were actively buying through that space in Duncan, and like we've kind of like, you know, we look at Victoria still, and we continue to buy here when the deals are right, but a lot of our attention is more north of Victoria in these suburb type markets because of the affordability and that push and that drive to be a little, you know, a little more remote and have a little bit more balance of a lifestyle. But what we've seen in the Duncan versus the Cowichan Valley, like even through the April, Mays, even in March and June, like everything is in multiples there. It doesn't matter what it is. And we had 15 different multiple offers on a project that we were looking at. And it just shows like the resilience that Vancouver Island is. Like Ozzie Jurek has talked about Vancouver Island for 20 years, being like, hey, it's coming, it's, you know, buy now, buy here, buy here, buy here. And now it's like everybody's on the same page of like, yeah, Vancouver Island is where it's going to be.
I have a client, she just sold her condo here. We just had completion yesterday. She's been trying to buy up in the Nanaimo market. She's written offers on 6 places and they've all been in multiple offers. And I mean, you know, we sold her condo here, great condo in Rockland, you know, sold in that 575 price point. Great number to transition to a market like Nanaimo.
Yeah.
But that's that same market. People are leaving Victoria, going to Nanaimo, and again, limited supply. And yeah, so, you know, I've got realtors in Duncan and Nanaimo, and I stay in touch with them to see what's happening there. Courtney Comox, I was chatting with my great friend Rochelle last weekend, and yeah, she had one of her listings got 4 offers.
Yeah.
So it's, again, Courtney Comox has an international airport. You know, a lot of people from Alberta are making the move to Comox now instead.
Awesome lifestyle there too.
Yeah.
You got the military base for one, and then 2, like
Exactly.
It's one of the only areas on the island where you can golf, ski, and swim all on the same day.
Exactly. Love it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said about the island in general, like the secret's out, right? Like there's no more, we don't live in this little remote part of Canada anymore. We're really getting there. Condo prices, like I said, condos have been fluctuating a little bit differently. Again, you can see the strength here in the West Shore at up over 9%. Again, more affordable. The core has really been flat, but we're going to dive into those numbers in a minute. The downtown condo market is in negative pressure right now. A few different factors there that we'll dive into in a minute. But yeah, so that really just dives into that's the board statistics package. But let's bring up this fun HPI map because we always like this one too.
And this is all stuff that you can share with your clients too, right?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. This, you know, what we're doing right now is generally what I go through with people when we have our initial buyer consultation, right? Is let's chat about your needs, your goals. Are you an investor? Are you looking for yourself? What's your lifestyle? What's your risk tolerance? If you're an investor, are you looking just to buy something, rent it out and forget it for 15 years? Or do you want to, you know, do some value add and sell it in 2 to 3 years, right? So we'll have a very different conversation, but these types of tools and information can really help kind of pitch or paint a picture of, you know, what might be the best market for you based upon what you're looking to do.
Yeah, I just want to hop in here real quickly. And so This is year over year change. So this is October 2019 versus October 2020. And the first thing that pops out to mind is left-hand side Souk, up 12.2%. And I know a bunch of people are looking in the Souk area, like Chris and Sari are building out there now. So tons of opportunity there. And we've seen a huge amount of growth there. Are you guessing that like that Souk suburb, as you might call it, is going to continue to see that type of demand and rise as the municipality and the city continues to grow?
Yeah, definitely. I think, hey, that's the premier of BC. That's his riding, right? So, you know, but honestly, I mean, when we tie some of those things in, right? Like the Souk Highway is getting there's more infrastructure money going in, right? They want to make that road safer. He wants to bring more money there. So from a political side of where is infrastructure going to be going, Souk's going to be getting some nice upgrades here soon. And again, as Langford and the West Shore continue to become its own hub of employment, the government's opening up some offices out there. if more and more people can work in Langford or Colwood or work from home, then Souk becomes a very easy decision, right? Because it's only 20 minutes from Souk to Langford. And, you know, again, you got everything you need there. So no, I think Souk will continue to grow. Again, it's even got its own limitations when it comes to land and trying to protect some of the areas while trying to develop the downtown core. But I mean, you've got new banks opening up out there. You've got other businesses opening up. I mean, you know, so again, I think there's a great opportunity there. And I think, again, it's going to be another popular area because of price points. And it's all about land, right? As you know, you know, so as a builder developer, where can you get land for cheaper and create, you know, some really nice product?
Yeah. And then you got all your usual suspects, you know, Langford up 7.5, Colwood 5.5, Vic West, which we talked about like 6 or 8 months or maybe even a year ago or whatever it's been,
Totally.
You know, going through the roof as we kind of suspected, you know, Esquimalt continuing to grow. Obviously I love seeing View Royal being, you know, 5% above because we got the Skyview development happening there.
Totally. Yeah. And then actually, and it's funny because the areas that people generally think of like as Victoria real estate, Saanich East, right? That's UVic and Cadbro Bay. It's really been flat, 0.6, Oak Bay, 0.9. Victoria 3.6, but that's because you've got more affordable areas mixed with more expensive areas. But if you look at Fairfield, it's pretty flat as well. So as these markets evolve, these very high, you know, these very popular areas that are a lot more expensive, they're just kind of coasting along. Sales are good there. Properties will sell generally pretty quick, but price points don't have a lot more room to go up because people are buying for necessity right now. It's not a luxury type purchase. So we're not seeing prices push up there as much, but all those sales are still strong. But again, if you're an investor looking for growth, it's Souk, it's Esquimalt, it's Langford, you know, View Royal. Those are those areas where I think there'll be more growth over the next 3 to 5 years because there's more space within the pricing to still qualify for local incomes.
Right. And usually a little more cash flow found there too.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect.
But Central Saanich, 12.8%. That's crazy. And I'm guessing too, like the Saanich East. Well, is this map just single family? It is just single family.
This is just single family. Yeah. So we can pull that.
No, it's cool. I was just
Yeah. Oh yeah. No worries.
But I do think that Saanich East is probably an opportunity. Like 880 is your average for your single family, and I think a big factor in that plateau, correct me if I'm wrong here, would be like international students not being here. And so like typically on a normal year, like we would have a higher demand of rentals in that area because there'd be international students coming in and going to UVic. But now we don't have that, or not nearly to the volume that we usually would have, you know, creating that demand for opening up that space for locals to rent, which is awesome. But probably less attractive in an investor's eyes, being that, you know, you can get, you know, $1,200 for a single body in a single room versus $1,600 for your entire suite kind of thing.
Totally. No, that's a great point. And yeah, it's the same reason why the downtown condo market's a bit different. We don't have as many students here right now. We don't have as many service workers and stuff working downtown, and people are kind of changing their lifestyle. So yeah, it is definitely a COVID effect. And yeah, you have the international students renting, but then you also have the international students or students coming from other markets where their parents are buying homes for them, right? Like generally I'm pretty busy in July and August working with parents from Ontario who are buying a rental house because they'd rather, you know, buy a house as an investment and have their kids rent and have all their kids' friends rent from them as well. And it's a great little investment over 4.5 years. Yeah. You get your mortgage paid for, you get some appreciation. So yeah, the no student thing definitely is having an effect on many different markets for those same reasons. And just, quickly looking at those same prices, not as sexy of a map, but this is just showing condo prices as well. So again, as I talked about, you know, Victoria, the condo market there fluctuating a little bit differently, you know, down about 3% in the city of Victoria over the last year. Most of that drag is really in the downtown core, and that's the investment market in the downtown. And also just, you know, we've got some other challenges with different populations downtown right now, and people, you know, again, looking at getting out of the downtown core because it's expensive. going to View Royal, going to Langford, going to Central Saanich, because they can get a 2-bedroom condo instead of a 1-bedroom condo, and you get more space, as well as not having, they don't need to walk everywhere because, some businesses are closed and you're not going out to the bars and stuff. So the lifestyle of being downtown just isn't the same right now. So, but then the rest, again, Victoria, Oak Bay, negative condo prices. Sydney's down a little bit right now too. Lots of supply coming in Sydney. And again, more of an older demographic who isn't necessarily moving as much right now. But again,
I think they did a great job, by the way. Sydney, rewind 4 years ago when they went bonkers on density approvals. I think this shows exactly why more of our municipalities need to be more pro-development, because you look at this drop in price 6 months ago, 8% year over year, 2.3. I'm assuming with all the other new openings for condos and easy living in Sydney, that number is going to continue to decline a little bit. Maybe it's only a point or two over the next 6 months and 12 months and a couple of years. But prime example why development is so crucial for pricing. You flood it with demand, or you flood it with inventory, and guess what? Prices drop. Sydney is a perfect example.
People have choice. If a client wanted to go to Sydney right now, look at a condo, there's 4 or 5 great developments, all great builders, developers, but there's 4 or 5 projects to choose from, right? So now you can go around, pick out your, do I like that floor plan better? This building has slightly better new amenities. This building is a block away from my favorite coffee shop. Choice breeds competition, but for the sellers. Now the sellers are having to compete for your dollars, instead of you being like, it's the only condo available. Here's all my money, right? And you're right. I wish the politicians would understand this. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole right now, but this is exactly it. Look at, even with the West Shore and condo prices doing well, West Shore is also building a lot of rental apartments too. And so rents have really stabilized in Langford, because now as tenants, if you want to rent in Langford, you have a lot of choice. And now, rental agencies are going to have to work on, how do we incentivize tenants to come to us? So you're right. It nails it. And then we look at Esquimalt, 5.5%, View Royal, as we talk about your Skyview project, nice. Up 8% in the last year, which is really, besides Langford, you're the second, that's the second best municipality. Again, it's a suburb of Victoria, very close, access to nature. So many good qualities about, moving a little bit further west now. And Colwood, again, another municipality we've been talking about for a while. Again, Colwood's, all that industrial land in Colwood's being developed right now, the Allendale lands. There's 100 acres being developed. C-SPAN's moving there. They're taking over 2 or 3 acres and condensing a bunch of their office space there. And those are industrial, good paying jobs that are going to make more people want to live in that community. So again, look where infrastructure is going, and look where new jobs are being created. And really, Colwood, Souk, Langford, Central Saanich, with the Central Saanich's Keating industrial area, that's where people with good paying jobs that are kind of COVID insulated. So I think that's where you're going to continue to see that growth.
Yep.
Cool. Well, that kind of summarizes a lot of just pricing and sales numbers and stuff. I know you had a few questions for me though.
Yeah. We're seeing that upward pressure, as you mentioned, through this in a lot of areas. How, obviously being active on the ground and making offers yourself and stuff, what are you seeing in terms of multiples? Is it every asset class, every municipality, every listing? Is it a certain little area? What's the type of volume you're seeing for multiples here in Victoria?
Yeah, so I read some stats on this the other day because someone else was asking as well. And most of the pressure, like I said at the beginning, is in the detached market. So single family homes really across the majority of the reason, if they're well priced, your pencil still has to be sharp. Doesn't mean you have to underprice it, but if you go out with a strong price, you're generally going to get multiple offers if you've got that typical single family home with or without a suite at various price points. Townhomes, larger 3-bedroom townhomes are very, very active right now as well. And even some condos, even though, like I said, they're moving a little bit differently. Again, larger condos at a more affordable price that are rentable, have in-suite laundry, etc. But I quickly ran up some stats for so over the last 3 weeks, so a little bit of November and the last couple weeks of October, we had, about 825 sales, let's call it. It's about 15 to 16% of those sold above asking price. So that would lead me to believe that, because we don't have a category of multiple offers like in the MLS, but 16%, almost 16% sold slightly above asking price and higher. So that would lead me to believe that about that many properties face multiple offers. Sorry, just had a call come in. That it would lead me to believe that many properties would have had multiple offers.
Right. Okay. Something that I'm assuming is true because of the way the pandemic, people are wanting more space. Are we seeing more out of town buyers now versus what we've seen historically? I think it's been like around 6%, if I remember right.
So for sure. And the government keeps track of official foreign activity, but we've always been around 4 to 6% for foreign activity, but for the rest of Canada, so there is a graph here that I can pull up from the real estate board. So this is called the buyer's origin stats. Now, this information can be relied on, like someone's checked their passport and figured it out. These statistics are pulled from wherever the buyer's agent registered, the address on the contract. So if you had just moved here from Calgary, but you were renting in Cook Street, and so you used your Cook Street address, we wouldn't be able to calculate that you actually came from Alberta. So it's a little bit voluntary in the stats, but it gives us kind of a high level of kind of what's going on. So really, when we look about where purchasers from Greater Victoria, about 74% this month, 74% last year, slightly, I'm trying to think where maybe the difference is. Slightly more buyers from the Lower Mainland. So this is reporting at about 9% versus about 7.6 last year.
Yeah.
And then diving into some of these other stats, it looks like Alberta's down a tiny bit. But Ontario says it's up 0.5%. I would say visibly, in just my own personal experience, I've noticed more from Ontario this year than in previous years. Again, Toronto, Ottawa had, Toronto especially had very strict restrictions this year. Living in downtown Toronto, again, when everything's closed down, doesn't have quite the same energy and vibe as many other times. So, but really looking at total of Canada purchases, really it hasn't fluctuated that much year over year. And then outside of Canada, again, this is self-reported. It's down about 0.25%. So again, you might have some Americans that were already living up here. They have winter properties. Maybe they're making a transition. I haven't seen the government's official numbers, but I would say, we're probably at that closer to 3%, maybe total active foreign buyers, if even that much, just because the borders are closed right now.
Yeah, interesting. I thought it'd be a lot higher just for people pulling the chute on wherever they're living now. But I guess maybe part of the travel concerns that a lot of people have is probably a big issue.
And like I said, I think if we could get, if the government kept track of stats from people from other provinces, like I said, that the other provinces numbers might actually be higher. But like I said, if you were an Albertan and you already had a Victoria address, generally the realtor is going to put down the Victoria address. So I would think it's a little bit higher, but again, you're right. The travel concerns would be one of them for sure.
Okay. There's a lot of people in our community here that are looking for the perfect investment, right? It's the 5-bedroom, 3-bath, BC box type of thing that you could do some value add to, growing community. That's our investor's dream, right? That's what everybody in Victoria kind of wants as well, because of the flexibility and stuff that you can do to it. I'm assuming that that's going to be your highest demand, and highest demand equals most attention equals most amount of offers and stuff. So the people that you're working with in that type of space who are looking for that type of product, are you encouraging them to get a inspection before you even write the offer? Because we had to do that on one of our recent products that we pursued, and I think that you've mentioned that with some of your clients doing that or seen it out there. is that like one of the better strategies right now? So you can be going in with an unconditional type offer, or?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how bad you want it, right? I mean, the biggest thing with working with investors versus someone buying a principal residence is, as you know, the investor, the numbers have to make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first question sometimes is, okay, well, this house is a great investment opportunity at a certain number, but if it's you and your wife and you really want to get that house and you've got 2 kids, and you're going to live in it for 5 or 6 years, you might overpay for the property a little bit because you're going to go live in it for 5, 10, 15 years and you're not as worried about it. So first thing is, I always say, we have to be pragmatic. We have to be patient. Don't get too crazy, but how do you maybe give yourself a leg up versus that couple is you're right, potentially doing a pre-inspection. I mentioning before that there was a listing in Oak Bay yesterday that had four pre-inspections were done before offer submission. And so that means at least probably 4 people are going to be writing unconditional offers. So depending on the property, yes, it is something that you may have to do. I always recommend getting an inspection, and that's generally what people are doing, because I know people freak out when they hear unconditional offers. But yeah, if it's a great investment opportunity, I think, yeah, it's something that you should have it in your repertoire that you might need to do that. So you have to react quickly, have your inspector ready to go. And I have seen sellers take slightly less money because it's an unconditional offer, because for them, they just sign the piece of paper and they get the deposit and they're good to go. So it depends, right? If someone's 40 grand higher than you, well, then they might wait a week for an inspection to get an extra 40 grand. But I mean, when we look at the numbers, and if you still bring a strong number in, it definitely gives you the leg up.
Yeah. And just a quick little shout out to my homeboy, Matt, at Stellar Home Inspections. I know you've used them before. Him and his wife and not newborn, but like 8-month-old, just bought a new house in Shawnigan. So congrats, dude. And if you guys are looking for a awesome home inspector, look up Stellar Home Inspections and Matt. He's an awesome dude and will definitely work well for you. I have just one other question for you, but before we do that, what's the best way that people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can reach me kind of everywhere. My direct number, though, is 250-818-5595, or my email is kyle@primeteam.ca. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all the other platforms as well. But and you can just even tag me in something in the REINVESTORS community, and we can always go from there. I know I've spoken to a few people from the community just right on Facebook, right? They have a couple questions, I answer them. I appreciate they'll send me a DM with more follow-up questions. So yeah, always happy to help and provide as much guidance as I can.
Awesome, man. And yeah, killer support you give our community. Really appreciate the team that you have and the value that you bring, and the communication that you have with all your clients. And so just kind of like wrapping up, my last question is more so like, what are you feeling on, like, what's the word of on the street right now? Like, are you getting a sense of fear of our market from different types of people, or the majority of people? We just went through a provincial election. There's, currently we're waiting on the announcement of what the U.S. election is going to be. Victoria has a by-election right now. Government intervention / new policy change is always one of the biggest risks to investors specifically, but to the housing market as a whole in general. So if you could touch on that just quickly, and then what's the word on the street right now? What's the popular vibe?
Yeah, so I would say there's cautious optimism in the streets, right? I think, well, again, you and I have talked about it at length. I mean, the local Victoria market economy, is very strong because it's very diversified. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, our friends in tourism, retail, restaurants still continuing to struggle. We're still trying to get those things figured out. Hopefully by the spring, we'll have this COVID thing figured out and they'll be able to come back. But again, we have so our local economy is really strong. So people are cautiously optimistic about that. But as you said, I think federally and provincially, when we hit next year and we get into budget time and we start talking about, okay, there's been a lot of stimulus put out there. How are we going to pay that back? And like you said, is it, investors because it's passive incomes and in capital gains and all those types of things. And we keep hearing rumblings that a lot of those things are on the table. So, I mean, that would be one headwind for sure, is what kind of taxation maybe comes out of this. So that's a potential headwind. And I think just people overall, people are still a bit sensitive, tense because of COVID. Yes, a very wild US election, both presidents, I mean, people say, oh, Trump might be better for Canada because of different things. But I mean, all I've seen is construction costs keep going up because of tariff wars. So, I mean, I think if Biden gets in, then I think there'll be a little bit better trade between the two countries, right? Just because they're a little bit better of an amicable relationship, which might help with some of the, like I said, construction supplies, labor shortages in some areas because of tech workers not being able to move and stuff around as easily. So some stuff there. And then, I mean, on the street, I mean, I've got a lot of people who want to be active, right? I've got people who are really confident in the Victoria real estate market. Because they're confident in themselves, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think it depends what position you're coming from. Like if you work for the government or if you're a contractor and you're short labor and you've got more and more jobs to pick up, well, you're feeling pretty confident because you're busy and you're doing well. So I think it depends on everyone's personal situation. But again, I think we're going to do fairly well here throughout the winter. I mean, sales have started off strong in November. I'm sure we'll see some kind of holiday slowdown like we normally do. But I think, again, those sectors, those industry sectors, property segments that have little to no inventory, I think you could still see multiple offers through December. It just may be different because I was mentioning to you before, we heard from our regulator yesterday and from our provincial association. They're strongly recommending that we stop open houses again, which is fine. We've always been wearing masks and sanitizing and gloves and all kinds of things and COVID surveys, but it's just with numbers increasing right now, we really want to be smart and safe and kind of respect each other. Because if we have to go back into more serious restrictions, I mean, we can still do our job. I did this in the spring, FaceTime tours, virtual tours, things will happen. The process will slow down again. So that will be the interesting part of just how do people respond having to buy real estate maybe a little bit more virtually again over the winter if we have to go that way. But I think overall, once we hit the spring and those things come back, I think the island's going to roar again. I mean, multiple offers up and down the island. We're not a secret anymore. So, I mean, people want to live here and, we're excited.
Oh man, the scary part about this is like we're in a pandemic right now and we're such a hot market. You bring back tourism, you bring back, international growth and immigration and more Canadian migration out west and like the whole silver tsunami thing that's going on, that's just starting. Like that's the freaky part is we're still like at the beginning of the demand storm.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
So quick note to Victoria's by-election, like we need a different situation.
Well, no, I mean, and that's the thing. I really hope they can see beyond it's just very interesting. It's very policy and ideological, and it's not realizing the reality of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So,
but dude, really appreciate digging into everything here today. If you're looking at buying or if you're looking at selling, give Kyle a quick shout, send him a DM on, through our REINVESTORS community. He mentioned his email and phone number. If you guys are looking at investing, he's a great guy to work with because he gets, renovation costs. He gets, he knows all the right people. He knows how to negotiate well. And if you want to invest with, on a project that we're doing, by all means, reach out, send us a DM, send us an email. It's just info@thereinvestors.ca. We've still got availability for the Skyview development, which is going really well. We closed on that yesterday. So that's really exciting. We're looking at, a couple other income properties in the Valley as well. So hit us up if you're interested. If you just got some questions, let us know. Drop them in the community because there's, 800 people from all across Canada with all different types of walks of life, and you'll get tons of great value from just being engaged in this community. So, Colin, man, I know you're headed to Tofino, so I hope you have an awesome weekend.
I'm out.
Hat off and
let's go.
ready to rock and roll. Everybody, hope you're having a awesome start to the winter. Just a shout out to all the vets as well. I know this is going to be a bit of a different year because we're not going to be able to respect November 11th in the same type of way. But just wanted to share all my love with the people who served for our country over the years and are continuing to do so. So thank you so much. I don't have my poppy on here, but it's on my jacket. Dude, any other thing you want to say at all, or?
No, I think you summarized it perfectly. Like I said, lots happening, and we'll continue to provide updates as this market continues to unfold. But yeah, thank you to all the people that have served for our country. I know I've worked with a lot of them, and it really means a lot.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, have a great rest of your week, everybody. And
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
again, Kyle. Enjoy your staycation in Tofino.
Okay, thanks, good, bro. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks.
Cheers.